Databases make the world go round, don't they? I mean, think about a little mom and pop store. Even they have a database, even if that database is index cards in a little index card box. Well, I love databases as much as anybody else, but I sure could do without maintaining a database server. In this nugget, you and I are going to take a look at the amazing Amazon Web Services in the area of relational database services, or RDS. Now, I just realized that sometimes in this course I can sound like a bit of a salesperson for AWS. That's not what I'm doing at all. Trust me, I'm not making any money by anyone moving to AWS. Bezos. Anyways, or Bezos, whatever. Anyways, here's the deal. I gotta list what the capabilities are here, and it does sound like something out of a brochure, but just realize it is pretty powerful. I mean, we can spin up Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, anything that you need from a database technology these days that's popular, including Amazon's own flavor of relational database system. There's going to be powerful pre-configurations in place for parameters that are set beautifully. Now, you can go in and you can do what's called a database parameter group, and you can add your own settings, but it's important to realize that there's a lot of expertly based pre-configuration in place, and guess what? CloudWatch is going to be in full effect. Now, it's basic monitoring that's set up with some key metrics automatically for your relational database system. Think like elastic load balancing and how we had automation there when it comes to monitoring done for us. That's going to happen here. We could pay extra to go into more advanced monitoring if we wanted to. We're going to get into detail about backing up in the cloud, but understand when it comes to your RDS service, we are going to have automated backups by default. In a demonstration I'm about to do for you, I'll show you how easy it is to kill off that behavior, but most of us love the fact that Amazon Web Services will back up for us, and we can go in and configure the retention period that we want up to about, I'd say like 35 days. You can specify that you want to be able to keep those backups. Now, what about you going in and saying, I want a backup right now? Never mind the automated backup, but I want one right now based on something we did to the database. No problem. You can take snapshots on demand anytime you like, and you can keep those as long as you like. When it comes to input-output operations per second, or IOPS, we can go in and we can designate the IOPS behavior that we want. Typically, it's from 1,000 to 10,000 IOPS, and we can do this for typically 100 gig up to 1 terabyte. There's push button scaling that we can do. So we could even tie this, if we wanted to input and output operations per second. So you can have dynamic scaling taking place based on the metrics for your database implementation. If the underlying host hardware fails that's hosting your relational database system, there's an automatic replacement. How cool is that? When it comes to replication of your database, you could easily go outside your availability zone for the fault tolerance and disaster recovery that's going to give us. And you could even make it so that you have isolation and security when it comes to your relational database. What's an example of this? Well, how about putting your database in its own virtual private cloud and then configuring connectivity through like a VPN to those database services? So it is truly a robust set of characteristics here that we get with AWS's RDS. So this wouldn't be much fun without seeing RDS in action. Let's jump into our free tier account, and under the database category, let's go to RDS, and notice we can choose Get Started Now to launch a wonderful relational database service via a wizard-like interface. Check this out, so cool. So let's say I want to spin up Microsoft's SQL Server. Notice there's a free tier eligible SQL Server Express. There's other additions. We'll just choose that free tier SQL Server Express, and notice we go right into the database details. Please note that if you choose other paths, you would get other options. Like, let me go to MySQL, for instance, and go to the community edition of MySQL. And notice one of the things they do here is say, all right, do you want a production environment? We'll do a multi-availability zone deployment and allow you to provision IOPS storage. Or do you want a free tier usage approach where you're really not doing it for production? It would be more for development or testing. So you are going to have different options based on the path you choose. We were doing SQL, and specifically SQL Server Express. So we'll go in here and we'll say, all right, we want the license included licensing model. Okay, and notice you could set this so it keeps you in the free tier. Then you specify the database engine version. Then we would go in and choose our instance class like DBT2 Micro, which is 1 virtual CPU and 1 gig of RAM. Then we could specify our time zone. Then we would specify the storage type, whether it's SSD or provisioned IOPS SSD. We would allocate the storage, and then we would scroll down here, see that we've provisioned an IOPS number as follows, and then you'd give your database identifier. So I'd say like testdb here. The master username I'll say is admin with admin123 as the password. The next step would involve the virtual private cloud that we're going to put this in. Notice default VPC is the default option there. Default subnet group will make it publicly accessible. We can specify the exact availability zone we want it in, or we could say we don't have a preference, place it where you think. And then you can go and specify the VPC security group that you want for this database. So we could go in and say, we want the default VPC security group, for instance. Obviously, you would really want to consider making a security group that would be perfect for the database work that you want done. From a SQL Server Windows authentication perspective, notice we could specify an Active Directory. The database port is going to have a default, as will the default DP parameter group. Remember, these are powerful settings that are being put in our place based on the experts' analysis of what we should have. We could do our own parameters and options. We can copy tags to snapshots. We can do encryption. And then watch this, for backup, we could go into the retention period and we could say no. And what this does is disable the automated backup feature. So I wanted to be sure to show you that. We could do enhanced monitoring, add an extra fee, and then notice that upgrades, minor version upgrades, are being automated for us. So this is wonderful that not only is Amazon Web Services taking care of automatically backing up our important database, but they're also going to be automatically updating it by default for us. Well, that's it. We set our settings. We say launch DB instance, and the database instance will begin launching. And much like our regular old instances, we can go and view these instances to see their status. Notice our SQL Server Express testdb is currently in a creating status. And one of the many great things is you don't have to wait for that SQL Server Express to finish creating in order to go in and verify that your parameters are set. So we can go in and we can look at the details of this relational database, and we can see things like we disabled automatic backup, for instance. And we can also, very importantly, get the Amazon resource name, and we can verify exactly what technology and what engine version that we are working with. Notice a lot of these are hyperlinks. So if we wanted to see the security group that's been associated with the RDS, we can see that by clicking on this hyperlink. And from there, you could even edit the security parameters. Let me hit refresh and see, we're still in a creating status. Once we're done creating, I'll pause the video here. I want to show you how easy it would be for you to modify the database after its creation. Well, I've said it once and I'll say it again. You got to love video editing. So we have our SQL Server Express testdb available. Let's do this now. With that database selected, let's go up to Instance Actions and we're going to choose Modify. So we're working with this database and we realize, you know what? We need to upgrade the instance class. So we go from DBT2 micro, for instance, to DBT2 small. This bumps up the RAM to 2 gig. One thing that we want to do now is go down that we've made this change, and we want to make sure that we apply this change immediately. So we'll do that setting, choose continue, choose modify DB instance, and now our status should update. And now notice, thanks to that change, our status has changed to modifying, and we are moving that database to a better sized instance class. Now keep in mind, if you didn't want to make changes to your database immediately, you could leave off that immediate action kind of checkbox and they would take place, but it would be in the next maintenance window. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.